They had no Connor. They had no Leon. They had no Stuart Skinner. They had no Matthias Ekholm. I wasn't bothered by a 3-0 loss to the LA Kings because that doesn't do anything to change my view of this Oilers team and this Kings team, quite frankly.
Me too. I think maybe in some weird way, maybe it's a bit of a blessing in disguise almost that they did lose, because now, the hope of home ice advantage, like something obviously has to go a bit more wrong than for the LA Kings for it to be still a hope, but now they can just sit these guys out. There's no worry of them falling out of the top 3. You're playing LA in the first round, more than likely. Still a chance Vegas to get it, but hey, maybe Draisaitl gets an extra game, McDavid gets an extra game, whatever it may be. And I think overall, I'm not worried about the LA Kings.
So
they struggle to score.
They do struggle to score, and I think that is important. And someone in the chat says there's some serious copium in here today. No, it's not cope. It's a game 76 of the regular season. Again, home ice, I guess we can talk about that quickly because it does seem like a pretty distant idea. The fact that you don't have the tiebreaker over LA means you're essentially 4.5 points back of them in that spot. So, let's do some math here. LA's at 97, Edmonton's at 93. Each team has 6 games remaining on their schedule. If the Oilers were to go, let's just call it 6-0. Let's say they end the year on an awesome heater.
That's the first game they've lost in the final 10 games.
Yeah.
Let's say.
The Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's say the Oilers go 6-0. That would put them at 105 points. LA then would only need 8 points to guarantee it. So LA would just need to go 4-2, right? The home ice probably not happening. You're right. Maybe this does turn out to be a little bit of a blessing in disguise or whatever you want to call it, because it'll just sort of let them rest guys without feeling any sort of okay, we're still kind of in the mix. Do we need to go for home ice? All of that stuff. So, I think it's fine. I'm kind of just resigning to the fact this series is starting on the road. I do think I was just going to quickly look, because there was some talk about when the Oilers could open up their season. So,
the playoffs do start officially on April 19th.
Yeah.
Which would be obviously the Saturday after the regular season ends, which is the 17th.
So the Kings do play on Thursday the 17th. Would they, because the Oilers are done on the 16th, as you can see on your screen right now. The Kings are done on the 17th. Would they make the Kings play on the 19th? That last game for them against Calgary is at home, but still they traditionally like to give teams at least 2 days off from the last day of the regular season to the playoffs. The other question when you play LA, as we know from previous years, is building availability. The Lakers' regular season is done on the 13th. So, again, what's the Lakers' playoff schedule like? I think the Lakers would take precedent on a Saturday night over the Kings.
I would think so.
So then for Edmonton, I think you're looking at maybe Sunday the 20th in LA is the start of your playoff run.
Now, the ultimate question, Aaron, if you don't mind pulling up the schedule again, do they just stay in California or do they come home?
If you're not playing till Sunday, you come home because you fly home on that night of the 16th and you sleep in your own bed the 17th, 18th, and fly to LA on the 19th.
I wonder if, because of how late that game is, if they actually would just stay till Thursday morning, maximize as much rest as they can actually get.
I think getting guys home is the priority.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, too, if Bakersfield's cooked, which, man, they might not have any players to call up, to be honest.
Well,
but maybe a few guys don't even make that trip.
Oh, yeah, Connor and Leon, I don't. Again, we're dealing with, and we're at a point where the Oilers are more or less locked into the third spot in the division. There's probably not going to be a whole lot to play for in these final 6 games, and maybe that's something we bring up with Louis is what do you even want to see in these final few when there's not a lot on the line? But there is no way Connor and Leon and all those guys are flying to San Jose on the 16th. That is a skeleton crew.
Yeah, I would think so as well. What did they end last season? What was it? Obviously, Phoenix's last game, Arizona's last game in Phoenix, and then Colorado, they got smoked on the last game of the season, and a lot of guys.
I remember they started Skinner for some reason in that game.
Yeah, he got lit up, and it's what are we doing? And then did actually pretty well in game 1 against LA, if I'm remembering correctly. So, yeah, it'll be a drag till the end of the season.
God, I would hate to be a guy who hosts a pre and post game show.
I was just saying to Reese back here, I was like, it's going to be difficult. We're pulling out all the stops. We're playing games. We're doing giveaways.
Oh, yeah, flag game might come up.
Yeah, why not? All right, let's go to the YouTube chat quickly for our friends at Odd Company Brewing and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for every day. I had some of the boys from my beer league team over on Saturday night
nice.
and did our little year-end wrap-up party, and let them, handful of them, try the Nation beers. And then by the end of the night, guys were coming up to me being like, hey, can I trade you the beers I brought for another Nation beer? And I was like, listen, that's a terrible deal for me, but I want to spread the good word of how tasty these beers are. So I allowed the trades to happen. We got a comment from Mulik who said, would have really liked home ice advantage all the way through the playoffs. Game 7s can be so important. Here's my spin zone. And yes, to the commenter who used the word copium earlier, this is copium. Game 6s happen before Game 7s. They're maybe more important.
Just sweep.
Yeah.
Bring your brooms. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, Game 4 is often the most pivotal game of a series.
Yeah.
So you get that on home ice now. I'm not worried about it.
No, and the Oilers have won games on the road and against the LA Kings the past few years. Obviously, both Game 6s, that when it got to that point, the Oilers won those games. So I totally understand. I would obviously like them to have home ice advantage the entire time too. But I honestly think this, and I have two kind of interesting points. I think the West is such a battle that, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because I think it's going to get to a point, even like Winnipeg and Vegas, they'll likely both be the 1 seeds, unless Dallas obviously keeps going what they're doing and Winnipeg trends backwards. But I think their first-round matchups are so difficult. I would not be surprised if they just were out in the first round anyway. Like, would anybody be that surprised if you get to the second round and all of a sudden it's just Colorado, Edmonton, St. Louis, and Minnesota? Like, Minnesota, obviously the team that's kind of like the weakest team of the 8.
If they get healthy, maybe, but I'm...
Yeah, for sure. But, like, what the point is like, I don't think it really matters. You know? Like, you could get to the Western Conference the next round and be the number 1 seed all of a sudden and have home ice advantage.
Margins are so slim here.
So tight. And also, too, I think we're seeing it with Florida. Like, game management is becoming such a thing in the NHL this season. Like, they're just like, hey, we're just going to make the playoffs and beat whoever we can. And, yeah, it's going to be, I think this playoffs will be pretty historic, to be honest. I think this will be a really good group.
Yep. And Maynard has a good point about the home ice, just to wrap that up. He says, again, a split in the first 2 games changes the narrative completely. And it absolutely does. I mean, last year, obviously, Edmonton flipped that series hard against LA by going to LA and winning both games. And that really, like, that crushed them. But you look at the flip of that, LA is a great home team. But if you can slip one in the first 2 games, you come back to Edmonton with that series tied 1-1. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there going, yeah, it's Oilers in 5 or it's Oilers in 6 at that point, right? I mean, again, you got to go win the games, and every game is, if you view it as a coin flip and the margins are thin, yes, I understand all of those things. But again, I'm not all that scared about starting on the road for round 1. Where I maybe agree with that it's a disadvantage is like, yeah, last year in the Cup final, I would have loved to have game 1 of the Stanley Cup final on home ice. I think that allows you to set the tone for the series, which is basically exactly what Florida did last year. So that's a disadvantage, but you can also, again, if you want to keep flip-flopping, having game 6 in Edmonton against Dallas in the Western Conference final, that was absolutely massive. The Oilers doing the drag them back to Alberta thing in game 5, that created a rallying point. Like, again, I get it. The Kings are so good at home, one of the best home teams in the NHL, and they are a tragic mess on the road. Things also change in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's home ice, obviously an advantage. There's no doubt about it. Like, the 2 games the Oilers have played in LA this season, quite frankly, they've played not that good in either of them, and the Kings barely got by them in both games. It took an overtime in one that shouldn't have even been a goal because of Skinner's mask. And then they took the Oilers not having half their roster healthy for the Kings to get 2 goals against them. One of them being on the third one being on internet, of course. Like, I'm not worried. Not worried.
Yeah, and the Iron Duke, I don't think it's going 7 regardless of who wins. And I honestly think I kind of agree with that. Either Edmonton just doesn't have the juice this year and they aren't healthy and they never get fully healthy and LA beats them in 5 or 6, or I think Edmonton just does kind of do the dimmer thing we've talked about where, like, you're trending, boom, that dimmer's up all the way, game 1 of the playoffs, and they steamroll the Kings again. I really don't think it's going to come down to a game 7 in round 1. Later in the playoffs, I agree, would be great to have home ice, but again, you just said it. I would not be the least bit surprised if St. Louis stuns the Vegas Golden Knights in round 1. I think that's a St. Louis team that is doing all the right things at this point, and they have some guys who have been there before. Holloway and Broberg have both been on very long playoff runs. They're very key players for that team.
Well, who they on a run with? Binnington, obviously.
He's also won a cup.
Yeah. Binnington has been like a crazy different goalie since the Four Nations.
Yeah.
One thing I was interested in from the LA game on Saturday, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the physicality Frederick brought to the game really just threw off the Kings.
Yeah.
Like, he was on a different level in that department, and he
only played 7 minutes.
But like, even when he was out there, it felt like even in front of the net, like he just grabbed Fiala and started jabbing him in the face, and like
Loved it.
obviously the score that wasn't in favor of Edmonton, but like you look at the guys they're going to bring back in to the lineup, I really do think that he is going to be such a game changer.
The first period, he had 4 shifts, 2 scrums.
Yeah.
Those are good numbers. I'll take those numbers all day.
Like when we spoke to Dennis
Scrums per 60.
Yeah.
we spoke to Dennis on Friday. He was just saying how much more physical this LA team is. And I know Tanagino didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
And he would obviously bring a different level to that. But I don't know. I was surprised at the lack of physicality from the Kings in like the scrums department. It felt like Edmonton were the ones initiating that, which was great to see.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.